Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. I got to see the cinema premiere for Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Sure, it's coming on Netflix later in December, but I just couldn't resist going to the cinema to see it. From the moment I first heard about it, I knew that this is a project we're celebrating and supporting. I find it curious that earlier this year we had a live-action Disney remake of the classic 1940 animated film. It's roughly a shot-for-shot recreation of the original, but managed to lose all the potency and artistic nuance along the way. Clearly, technology and budget aren't everything. Now, this is my opinion, but this remake feels like a soulless cash grab. Which brings me back to this version of Pinocchio. It's immediately obvious that this is a labor of love. The decision to go with stop-motion animation results in a bold new look that's brimming with creativity and a delicate attention detail like you've never seen before. This is a direct contrast to a controlled and cold execution of a shot-by-shot recreation. Here, the artists have room to breathe new life into this wooden puppet. And I must say, it's a very surprising and imaginative take on the Pinocchio narrative. Yes, there are some departures from the classic tale, but for the most part, I really can't complain. There are some very unique takes here that are well executed. It's dark and gritty, and in many ways, it feels like a much more grounded experience. The psychological effects of trauma, heartbreak, and deceit feel incredibly relatable, and the integration of the fascist regime within Italy blends into the Pinocchio story in an interesting and novel way. It will come as no surprise that the art direction of this film is simply immaculate. Wow, every frame explodes with personality. The environments and characters are dense with lovingly crafted detail. You can tell that the artist went above and beyond the call to duty to carve as many minute quirks into the puppets as possible. Their animations are equally mesmerizing and nuanced. They made me forget I was watching an animated film. Honestly, this is some of the most expressive sculptures I've ever seen on film. The characters feel lifelike due to the fluidity of their movements and the range of emotions they display. And beyond the sculptures and animations, I absolutely love the lighting effects and all the vibrant colors. It's a visual feast for the eyes. I'm also completely enamored with some of the outlandish creature designs for the fairy or the gargantuan whale known as Monstro. It's so Guillermo del Toro, and I love it. I'm confident it will go down in history as one of the great stop-motion animation films of all time. And the voices behind the puppets add a lot of weight behind the emotional tale. This is of course made possible due to an all-star cast who have been used to great effect. Now I won't go into too much detail on whom the characters play and whatnot, but I think it's worth taking a moment to give some credits. We have Gregory Mann, a young newcomer as Pinocchio, and he gives a wonderful and vibrant performance, and this Pinocchio is quite the little shit, in a good way. Ewan McGregor is Sebastian J. Cricket, David Bradley is Master Geppetto, and he gives an incredibly nuanced and heartbreaking performance. Definitely one of the standouts in the film. We have Christoph Waltz, who is Count Volpe, who is essentially an amalgamation of the fox and
Stromboli.
Now, I'll fast forward a bit. We also have Tilda Swinton, John Turturro, Ron Perlman, Finn Wolfhard, as well as a few other actors in some minor roles. But I think my favorite has to be Cate Blanchett as the monkey. In a recent video, I praised her powerhouse performance in Tar, and if you weren't already convinced with her acting prowess and her range, wait till you see her screeching manically as a scheming monkey in Pinocchio. This monkey is essentially a reimagined version of that hilariously dumb cat from the original film. Anyways, it's an outrageous performance in the best possible way. If you don't know that Cate Blanchett is the voice of this character, you wouldn't guess it in a million years. If I do have some complaints, I felt that there were some inconsistencies with the frame rate. For the most part, perhaps 80% of the film, things were butter smooth. But regularly it felt like things would get noticeably choppy for a few moments. And I don't seem to be alone to share this thought. Of course, it's not a deal breaker. I already mentioned just how in love I am with the visual style and the animation of this film, but I do think it's a point of criticism that's worth highlighting. And as for the reimagining, in the grand scheme of things, I love it. But I do feel that some elements in this adaptation lead to watered down characters. Most notably, Sebastian J. Cricket. He's supposed to be Pinocchio's conscience and pledges his devotion to support Pinocchio in being a good boy. The only problem is, he's never there to be his conscience. He perhaps has a brief moment or two to do so, but then he spends the rest of the film far away from Pinocchio or crushed under a book or someone's boot heel. I feel like he serves as a comic relief in this decidedly darker version of Pinocchio's tale. It also bothers me that even though he completely flouted his responsibilities, he still gets his wish granted to him at the end of the film. So it kind of feels like a slap on the wrist with no consequences whatsoever. I wonder how many others will share my point of view on this specifically. In my humble opinion, this cricket sits well in the shadow of the beloved and wise Jiminy Cricket from 1940. That guy was a champion that stood by Pinocchio's side come hell or high water. Putting those few issues aside, There's no denying that this is an incredible piece of artistic achievement that I recommend everyone to go see as soon as possible, especially when it'll be available on Netflix. If you're interested to go support in theaters, by all means, please do so. It really is a one-of-a-kind film. I'll also take this moment to reiterate just how much of a contrast this is next to the soulless remake that's out on Disney+. I thought it was an interesting exercise to watch the 1940 film in parallel with the remake every 10 minutes or so. The creativity and passion in the original film are so potent, and I feel that Guillermo del Toro and every other beautiful soul who worked on this project managed to rekindle that magical spark. And I think that's just as high of a praise as anyone could ask for. I'm going to give this wonderful film an 8.5 out of 10. Please go check it out. I don't think you'll be disappointed. Always wishing you and your loved ones nothing but the best. Take care and talk to you soon.